Oh, slim feature. Welcome again, everyone, to the next episode of the Foally of Man. My name is Chris, and with me here today...
I'm Robert. Yeah.
So, welcome to our reading through, or not reading through, but kind of digestion of Fallout Equestria, a fan fiction by kkat of a mix of Fallout and ponies.
Specifically My Little Pony.
Well,
Or in many cases, My Little Brony.
in this episode, they actually,
Yeah. In the crux of this, Chris is a Brony. I'm not.
He really isn't.
So this week we're covering all of Chapter 39.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a confession to make. I decided
He was
to...
a bad boy.
Well, I was a bad boy. Well, I finished part 1 of Chapter 39, and even though kkat said we needed to do this in 2 episodes, that didn't work for me because I wanted to hear the rest of the story and figured, screw it. We'll just talk about the entire chapter.
Yeah.
No matter how long it takes.
So, there's that. So, starting off, we begin the episode with little Pip waking up.
Oh, something we've forgotten to do in a while. Chapter 39.
Oh, yes.
This Coming Storm.
We all gotta go sometime. I was just hoping for something more heroic.
Pretty dour considering what happens.
Yeah.
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 So, anyways, where we last left Pip off was a big boom. A
Yes.
big kaboom.
Technically 30 minutes before a big kaboom.
Yeah.
A big earth-shattering kaboom!
Yeah. Where was my earth-shattering kaboom?
So we begin with an internal, not kind of an out-of-perspective monologue from her discussing the Black Book as well as the nature of souls. So...
And wondering what happened in those last moments. What happens to a soul that's bonded to something when it's destroyed?
Mm-hmm. Can it be
Because the
destroyed?
idea of a soul jar is that it's not indestructible. It's just almost indestructible. So the question is, what happens to the soul that's been trapped within? What happened to the 3 souls that were trapped in Trixie? No, the 4 souls that were trapped in Trixie.
Yeah.
Because it was the twins, Trixie and
Twilight.
Twilight.
And possibly others.
And possibly others. And of course, what crazy-ass zebra soul was in the Black Book?
Mm-hmm.
You know, something very dark, something very twisted. But then Pip wonders, do those souls try and find another vessel?
Mm-hmm.
Do they seek something else out in the darkness? Or are they put to rest?
Or are they eternally lost in the void?
Yeah.
Never to see any solace.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
So anyway, so Pip comes to, and essentially, if I remember correctly, the floor of the safe room they were in falls out from under them.
It's slanted. It's like the whole safe room kind of slanted down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because the earth underneath them is
Yeah.
destroyed. I mean, it was a subterranean blast.
Mhm.
Big boom. It
Yep.
was a balefire bomb.
Yes, the balefire bomb that was used in that was going to be used by Red Eye to threaten Tin Pony Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Pip somehow got her grubby little hooves on it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm telling you, that's one hell of a party time mentat.
Oh yeah. So she awakens and looks down in the pool at the bottom that's filled with taint. Has a Pegasus, one of the ones that she saw,
Enclave soldier
that she saw in the last chapter, the very end,
named Ambrosia,
which she recognizes instantly, seeing Ambrosia was in the pool and kind of like, who?
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize she slowly gets these flashbacks and realizes she had 30 minutes with this Pegasus soldier stuck in the safe room, and she doesn't immediately remember any of it. So she has these flashbacks throughout the chapter, which is very interesting.
Well, and it should also be said, Pip begins to assess herself and realizes that a majority of her medical supplies are gone. They've been used up. And so she thinks at some point she had to have been conscious beforehand.
Oh, she also notices her leg.
Floating in the water.
And starts freaking out, and then realizes her leg's still there, and was like,
so some
okay.
crazy-ass mutation has been occurring inside of Pip's body.
yeah.
So, pretty hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, seriously, looking in a pool of water in front of you, and there's your leg, but you have both of your legs.
Deadpool's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to feel huge in this thing.
and little Pip is all alone. Then again, I don't know if huge is really the predominant thing they want to go with there.
But Pip asks herself, what am I becoming? What truly have I become?
Mm.
If I'm regenerating entire limbs. And she even notices that, she feels bad, but it's not as bad as it has been.
Yeah.
She seems to be acclimating in a way.
She says, "What kind of monster has the wasteland turned me into?"
Yeah. And she keeps asking herself, am I... This is throughout the chapter. Am I any better than Red Eyes? And in fact, there's things that Pip has done that Red Eye is like, you're more hardcore than I am.
She's very focused
Yeah,
on succeeding some of these goals. So, right in the middle of her woes and wondering what could possibly happen.
Oh, we should also say there is a crack in the safe room, and the gas is slowly seeping in.
Oh yeah, the spray of taint-filled water.
Yeah.
Harkening back to when Twilight in the recording said, "At least I don't think water is supposed to be that color."
And we should say the vision of Ambrosia, and Ambrosia is horribly augmented and mutated. I mean, she's dead, but she clearly was.
Yes,
the
FEV mutants that are found in the vault in Fallout 3. Those weird, grotesque abominations.
Well, isn't that what the centaurs are? Aren't they failed FEV?
Yeah, but I mean, I was talking about the dead ones.
Oh, right.
They're kind of deformed and oddly asymmetric in what happened, because it describes the front of her head bulging out of...
And like her tongue sticking out of the... Yeah.
Like a tongue. It was bulging out like a tongue. Yeah, which is gross, because in the later recordings, it actually described that she's still alive while that process was going on, and she's begging little Pip to kill her. Which is... No.
Then Pip is saved by Deus Ex Machina.
Yes, Deus Ex Ditzica.
Yeah.
When Ditzy-Do and a super alicorn...
A giant.
Yeah, an alicorn behemoth, I guess you could say, had been filtering through the rubble and tear off part of that safe room.
Yeah, and Ditzy-Do has become a glowing one.
Mm-hmm. From the amount of radiation.
From the radiation. Now, this sounds really naive, but is Ditzy always a Pegasus?
Yeah.
Okay. I just somewhere in there, I guess I never realized Ditzy was a Pegasus.
Yeah.
At any point. But yeah, so she's a flying, glowing one.
Mm-hmm.
And the Super Alicorn has picked up the entire safe room.
Yes.
And then basically they put Pip in the back of Ditzy's wagon.
Mm-hmm. And they play, and because little Pip has this realization that all of the thoughts and minds, like... Trixie was a hive mind in, I guess, what you could call the truest sense, in that she is the consciousness of all of them at once.
Yep.
With each one acting as a terminal to a mainframe. And so she realized that when it was fractured, when it was shattered, each of them ended up with portions of the mind that they had at that time.
Yeah.
Almost like how you hack into secure disk cards, like SD cards. They're called SD because the secure disk, not SanDisk. Is you actually take a snapshot of it.
Right.
It's actually that easy. and you just decompile the snapshot. But it means that they're locked in that frame, and so she played back Pinkie Pie's message to Twilight that never reached Twilight.
Well, you've skipped a step. Pip notices on the flank of the Super Alicorn. The cutie mark didn't mean crap to me until they explained. So I assume the cutie mark is Twilight Sparkle's cutie mark.
Yeah.
It's like 3 diamonds or starbursts or...
It's a starburst with 5 stars around it.
Okay.
But she recognized that, so she plays back.
She thinks that maybe Twilight was looking at her funny.
Yeah.
Or the Super Alicorn was looking at her in a strange way.
Yeah, so she thought maybe Twilight's in there somewhere, so she played back Pinkie's message that she's tried to send to Twilight right after Maripony had exploded, but before Manhattan's bomb had gone off. It just as kind of like a last message sort of thing. And the Alicorn looked funny and then left.
And the cutie mark completely faded, and then the Alicorn left.
And she tried to call out, but no, the Alicorn was elsewhere.
Later in the chapter, we even come across another group of Alicorns flying together in the air, but they pay no mind.
Yeah.
They seem to just be existing, lost.
Yeah.
I mean, they
which
have,
makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing based upon how their mind structure is probably flayed. Mind flayers.
yeah, they're just kind of
Hey.
in automatic mode.
So
So Ditsy Doo has a crate full of Rataway in the
Yeah.
back, and that Pip is essentially sucking like Capri Suns one right after the other. One, to get rid of the radiation in her body, but also being that close to a glowing one is just throwing intense
clickety
radiation.
clickety
over-
clickety
yeah.
clickety click. So Ditsy does take them back to Calamity and the others
Yeah.
at their cart.
And they were camouflaged. They had a camouflage tarp that they had put over the Sky Bandit.
Yep.
And then they I'm trying to remember where they were immediately headed to. Once they rounded them together, where were they en route to?
They were going to be going to Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, back to Tin Pony Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Well,
Well, I think they were trying to figure out what to do next because that was their big goal. So they needed to get out of the area immediately.
right.
And then what happens?
The what do you call the mutated dogs?
Hellhounds.
Hellhounds. I wanted to call them devil dogs. They're not devil dogs. They're hellhounds. Then hellhounds spring up out of the ground and attack them, and basically cut the head off of Steelhooves
Basically.
completely.
Completely.
And Pip is in shock and can't. It just assumes that some necrotic energy will come back, and he'll just spring back to life, and Steelhooves will be completely fine. Such is not the case. It seems. So, if I can compare this to something, do you remember the movie Serenity, the Firefly movie?
Yes.
When they kill Wash?
Yeah.
This is a lot like that.
Yeah.
Yay, we're fine! Dead. Dead. Fucking dead. Just dead.
Well, I mean, they give him a little better of a send-off than they did Wash.
Yeah, but it's kind of an unceremonious death.
Well,
But it goes back to the quote.
Yeah.
We all got to go sometime. I was just hoping for something more heroic.
And it's the nature of the wasteland. You don't always get to go. At least you didn't go. At least you didn't have a heart attack on the shitter. I mean, that's probably one of the stupidest ways to go. The Elvis Presley method.
Yeah.
That's gotta, because then you gotta wait for somebody to find you. Oh.
Yeah.
Who wants to walk in on that?
But it is a shame. This is, I don't know exactly. I don't know how to feel. Well, I mean, obviously, I had a feeling something like this might happen.
Yeah.
Because he's been my favorite character, and people are like, "Oh yeah," so it's like.
Hey, you remember how I told you that none of the characters die because they had plot armor? Yeah, I was lying.
No, I knew you were lying. So, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But I guess it had to happen. But it makes you like he got his redemption story.
Mm-hmm.
He completed his redemption story. It would have been nice if there had been. I don't know. I guess it's just sad.
Yeah.
Meaningful character. I found myself listening to this chapter actually getting kind of emotional listening to it. At a couple of spots, not just that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So they decide instead to take him, and what Pip does in response is take the Hellhounds and shoot them upwards.
Yeah, well,
A few hundred feet.
I was going to say, Pip summoning some strength we've never seen before. What does she say? Her horn overglows?
Yeah.
And literally the Hellhounds shoot up into the sky and then just fall to the ground, crumpled into pieces. I mean, just...
Yeah.
Like she lifted them up and went, squish!
Especially she threw them up to where you couldn't see them anymore and started raining down after the fact. It's like...
We're starting to see that Pip has started to become a little more alicorn than Pip anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of it's more than alluded to in this episode too.
I've mentioned all throughout this series in Hitchcock's the way to destroy a monster oftentimes is you have to become a monster, and at the end of the day, the monster has to die.
Yep.
In one way or another.
So we decide to go back to Stable 29, but before we do, we stop off. We have to stop off and we drop off Zenith at New Appaloosa, to take care of Silverbell because Ditsy is so horribly irradiated that Silverbell could not survive being around her for very long. So this is where actually there's a line in this where Silverbell rushes to Ditzy when she gets back, and Zenith holds
her back.
Holds Silverbell back, and she cries out. And Ditzy holds up a chalkboard that says, "Stay away, love. Mommy's poison." And I don't know why, but that line is just real. I don't know why it stuck with me, but it
tough.
did. It's a hard one. It's a hard one, but she says it with such sincerity. That it, or not says it, but it has such sincerity behind it that it feels different. It feels weird.
We should also say we skipped over a moment where we find out that the Enclave pony, the leader who announced himself, we find this from Calamity, was a member of the High Council of the Enclave.
Yep.
And so his death is viewed as an act of war, which is why the Enclave have declared war on Red Eyes. They see it as an act of Red Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really the main reason why they're coming down causing trouble.
Yeah. With that as well, but they didn't. Harbinger was brought up before in the story, but because it was such a small plant, I don't think that many people would have caught on. I don't think I caught on at first, the first time I read it, because it's like Calamity mentions it very early.
I mean,
on.
when he introduces himself, it's understood that he's important.
Oh yeah, I mean he's coming across as an admiral of some kind.
Yeah. Well, my first thought is Colonel Autumn.
Yeah.
But actually, unless he comes back, like Colonel Autumn does.
No. No, we don't see any more of Harbinger as far as I know. So, unless somebody has a fanfic.
I'm sure somebody has a fanfic.
A side fic.
Side fic, sorry.
Okay, so we continue on to Stable 29, and they hand over the body of Steelhooves, and they have a funeral the following day. Mm-hmm. Very sudden, but everyone who needs to be there is there, and they decide there's no reason to wait, and we want to give him a proper burial. Mm-hmm. So they do, at his shack, which is just a short sprint from Stable 29.
Yeah. Now, on this note, I had a realization that pit bucks are used and reused, and in the vaults they would have been used and reused. And I remember little Pip being surprised when she reaches destinations that there were already pre-programmed places in the wasteland. So it must have been that her pit buck came from somebody outside the vault before the bomb dropped. Possibly,
Or because Steelhooves' shack doesn't make much sense.
Unless it's Applejack's pit buck.
Interesting.
That's my. I don't know if that's a part of the story, but as I was listening today, I finally realized that it's got Steelhooves' shack on the pit buck.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it make sense that would be Applejack's pit buck?
Maybe. Because I don't remember if that's actually the answer.
You set the waypoints yourself.
Yeah.
So who else would have been in the vault who would have given a shit who Steelhooves is and where his shack is?
I think like actually at the intentional design is that it's kind of mocking the Fallout 3 thing where it always pops up with where your destination is, just telling you. But no, that's actually a really interesting idea.
Because there's key places. Well, I guess I'll be interested to see what y'all think in the comments, and I'm sure kkat will have something to say about it. I could be completely wrong, but it just anyway, something I thought about.
kkat, you're dumb. Why did?
See, never thought about it before. See, I'm bringing all sorts of stuff to the fandom.
Yeah. Okay. So we do the funeral.
And in the distance, during the funeral, they see 3, what do they call them? Raptors. Enclave raptors that are flying towards Canterlot. Mm-hmm. And they're circling Canterlot. But then they realize suddenly, with a loud kaboom, essentially, they see Canterlot slipping off the mountain.
They destroyed Canterlot.
From the bottom.
And
little Pip immediately thinks of Twilight Sparkle's mother, who they
left in Stable City.
Yeah.
And Stable City.
And all the ponies in Stable City.
All of those.
All those ghouls.
This is the thing. They explain later in the chapter that this is actually about Enclave trying to cover tracks and stop information from being leaked. But there's another thing that happens very commonly. So commonly, in fact, that this is something that it's a kind of an understood fact. When a conqueror comes into power over a place, they will start destroying the structures and statues that exist within it.
Of the previous, yeah.
It's called the toppling of monuments. And it is something that the Enclave would do as a symbol of their rise to power and placement in power is to take all the old symbols of power that exist and to shatter them. And I thought that was actually rather interesting. And even though kkat explains it as them trying to cover tracks, I think it's more interesting, the idea that they possibly see this as their own coming into going into ways.
I'll say last place here says, well, Little Pip might be a descendant of Applejack, so it might be more to it than even that, which I've theorized on this show before about Pip being a descendant of Applejack.
Yep. So, back in the stable 29, Pip talks to Velvet, who...
Well, Velvet's holed up in her room. In a room,
and...
refusing to come out. And Pip's like, well, will you at least talk to me? And door opens, in fairness.
Velvet had been going through Apple Snack's memory orbs.
Oh, speaking of which, in this chapter they answer how the orbs got there.
They do, but they don't answer how Rarity managed to pull the memory orb out of Angel Bunny and have it put into the case. Right. Especially because she was still fused to the window. Like, I get the case was there, I knew that one. It's like, how did she get the memory out of Angel Bunny and into the butterfly orb that's in the case? If she's still fused to the window in Fluttershy's office.
Well, she didn't make the memory orb. She sent Angel Bunny to Twilight to make the memory orb.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
So, anyways. What were we talking about? Oh, but yes, about Fluttershy's betrayal. Velvet realizes from the memory orb what Fluttershy did. But even then, she still has she still comes into some crazy-ass defense of Fluttershy.
Oh, yeah, it's all about, was everyone else
corrupted her.
Everyone else corrupted her.
And Pip's literally I don't know what to say to this.
You're still living
in delusion land.
It's like, Fluttershy did nothing wrong. She just, I think because she saw that Fluttershy
was just a
created...
subjector.
I think she saw that Fluttershy created the orb, or created the mega spell, sorry. But she didn't see the one where Fluttershy gave it, like the one where they react to her giving it to the zebras directly.
Yeah.
And so she only has half of that puzzle. So she only has that, she created it and everyone else ruined it. No, Fluttershy gave the zebras the end of Equestria.
She did.
On a silver platter.
Well, when in fact their destruction was at hand. Mm-hmm. The zebras were about to lose the war.
Yeah.
In a big way, and Twilight was right there with the goddesses. You know,
everyone was every single ministry was right there with something that would have completely and totally
single pony project.
That would have freed up every single last Pegasi to aid the war effort, which would have just obliterated the zebra forces on the ground level. There's just no overcoming it.
Yeah.
So Velvet's having none of this. She's having none of Pip. She's having none of anything.
I'm done adventuring. What she says is, how can I think that ponies... How can I save the ponies of the wasteland if I don't think they're worth saving?
Exactly.
And it's like, well, shit.
You remember how we talked about how... I cannot think of this now. How Calamity would come to the defense of those who would cannibalize by thinking that, look, if I admit that one of them is wrong, I can admit that any of them are wrong. Then part of my mind is going to admit that they're all wrong, and then the entire reason that I defend them in the first place will come into question.
And then you start making camps, and you start locking them up and boiling them into soap. Mm-hmm. It's a slippery slope.
A slippery soap. Just bend at the knees, not at the back, and not at the waist if you want to pick the soap up.
But anyways, Pip and Calamity decide they need to continue their mission. And so Calamity's like, no reason for me to hang around here.
Velvet's not going to talk to him. She's going to be all alone. So they, with Ditsy, move on to Tin Pony Tower. They also realize that the Enclave is all
it's overrun. Overrun with Enclave.
And actually start firing on Ditsy as soon as they see her because they're like, glowing ghoul! Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
So Pip does make her way in using the Stealth Buck Mark II, and to find out that Homage has vamoosed, left, just gone, because the Enclave shut down. They shut down the the Ministry of Arcane Sciences emergency broadcast system.
And it's really funny too. The Enclave views anyone using the towers other than them as theft. They view the towers and using anything to broadcast as you're stealing from them.
Yeah.
And so that's how they approach it. It's like, she was misusing, Enclave technology.
Yeah.
By harnessing the tower system.
Yeah. Very, very old Brotherhood of Steel kind of mentality from the games. So they... Let's see, I'm trying to remember where we are, because I completely messed up my notes. Oh, right. As she's sneaking out, she hears the Enclave soldiers having a small... She gives a small section of dialogue, which is very telling. I wish kkat had expanded on this a little bit, where the Enclave soldiers are grumbling about the shops in Tin Pony, saying, I wish they'd give us a hero's discount.
Yeah.
They see themselves as messianic.
Well, and we actually see this later. What the soldiers are told and what they're actually doing, you start to see them breaking ranks in a big way, because they've been indoctrinated when they're actually seeing firsthand, wait a minute, we're slaughtering innocents?
Yeah.
And they're like, screw you, no way, I'm out.
Yeah.
It's an important distinction.
Yeah, and it shows that the military lifestyle is falling apart. Oddly, I think Project Horizons went on with this way more than this story does, talking about the internal breakdown of the of the ranks and society of the culture over 200 years. A purely Spartan military society would inevitably start cracking.
But anyways, Ditsy needs to get the radiation out of her body.
So
needs to disperse the radiation, and they hear that there's an amazing doctor in Friendship City that can help. If anybody can help her, it's going to be this doctor that may help her bleed out the radiation from her body sooner, so she can get back to being a regular ghoul.
Dr. Freshwater.
Yeah, Dr. Freshwater. This is where it becomes very analogous to the clean what's the name? Project Purity.
Yep.
Project Purity from the DC Wasteland.
And as well, Rivet City, because Friendship City is Rivet City.
Well, and they say it's an old tanker ship or transport ship that was completely disassembled and reassembled.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Rivet City, yeah. So, they go aboard, and there's this whole dialogue about how the city came from. There's kind of an exposition.
We should say they make them check their flanks.
Oh yeah,
they have to show their
Calamities.
Flanks.
Because they wanted to prove that Calamity's a Dashite. They wanted to make sure he's not Enclave. Yeah.
So he does reveal, and it's like, here's his cutie mark with, it's burned
branding
out with
This was interesting. I never played Fallout 1 that much, so I never actually, and even then I probably never would have used this feature. But there was a feature in the game, and a lot of old RPGs, a lot of PC RPGs, where you can actually type in a line of text into a character and say, "Can you tell me about?" And then you'd type the text.
Text-based adventures.
It was actually RPGs and stuff. And so when she says, "Can you paint me a picture?" and she does like the long, drawn-out exposition of Rivet City, I actually kind of in my head thought that this was the Fallout 1 thing, where you go into the little, what can you tell me about, and her typing in Friendship City and pressing enter. And the person goes, well, and then all the dialogue.
All the text, yeah.
So they do get to, this is actually a pretty long process. It's almost like vignettes, where they're very small sequences, but they're strung together in the same place.
Yeah.
We get Ditsy Doo goes to Freshwater to get cleaned, and you kind of see that Freshwater's a little bit neurotic, but in this environment, who wouldn't be?
Stands to reason.
They talk about the Enclave's plans. Let's see. And they find Radar, who is an old Dashite.
An original Dashite.
He was the last Dashite to actually leave. Calamity was the most recent, but that was the one before him. Was Radar, and they talk to him.
They can't believe he's still alive.
They can't believe he's still alive, but it's when Calamity introduces Little Pip that he goes, wait, Little Pip? I know that name. Not that line, obviously, but he plays a dialogue that's also where Radar says, and I'm quoting him here, because that place is locked up tighter than my ex-wife's anus. And Little Pip goes, whew.
But apparently, Radar went to Canterlot, specifically the Ministry of Awesome.
Trying to look for anything he could.
And he couldn't get past the shield that
Velvet got through.
Velvet was able to get through. But he was able to access an old security log.
Yep.
And it's a recording showing Rainbow Dash placing the orbs into the box inside
talking to Pinkie Pie, hoping Pinkie Pie was there.
Yeah.
Because they probably agreed to have met there.
And she wasn't there.
And the pink fog outside was taking part of Dash's life because it had been a much higher concentration then. So it would have been eating her away. And it is a very sad sequence, but she says, I hope for your sake this Little Pip comes through. Which is interesting, that kkat set up in a Fallout story a totally in-universe, in-lore, explained reason for a prophecy story. Weird, but it works. So, they realize this, talk with Radar a bit more, decide to go do some shopping a little bit and meet the mayor, because much like Rivet City, Friendship City is run by a council of a few of the store owners, business owners, I should say, and
a merchants union,
something
like that.
Yeah,
I think is what they refer to it as,
and not the techno union. But
will the representative from the techno union please turn your music down?
But they foil an assassination attempt. When we first get into the city, they explained that was cherry tart, apple tart, or somebody. Raspberry tart. One of the merchant owners was attempting to take the city, or was attempting to undermine many efforts in the city through some means.
Yeah.
So they foil an assassination attempt against the current sitting mayor,
who is a merchant.
One of the merchants, and they realize that this Raspberry Tart is responsible. And they even message Raspberry Tart and say, "We have your assassin." And she's like, "Oh, I have no idea who you're talking about, but is he okay?" And it's like,
yeah. So a plan is hatched to put a recorder in the living quarters of Raspberry Tart. And Raspberry Tart is also porcine, just huge.
Yeah.
And I think like painted like a clown almost, so much makeup.
Yeah.
It's just hideous.
Yeah.
Hideous, vile creature.
I feel like I've seen an analogy to that in the movie somewhere, but I can't think of one immediately.
I think of Rarity from the Hot Diggity Demon videos.
Oh, yeah.
That's immediately what I thought of.
That would make sense.
Yes. So Pip's like, all right, I'll sneak in there.
Yeah.
Using my depleted stealth buck.
On the way, they actually overhear the Enclave broadcast taking credit for planting the bomb under...
The bomb has been planted.
Yes, terrorists win. According to the Enclave, the terrorists did win, and they won in a big way.
Terrorists could win?
No. The Enclave is taking credit for the bomb, and Little Pip's like, this is a level of horse shit that I'm not ready to handle right now. I don't even know whether I should feel offended, but I still do. What the hell?
Yeah.
It was my massacre, damn it. So she goes and plants the device, and while planting the device, the stealth buck...
Well, it's actually on her way out.
Yes, well...
the stealth buck fizzles out, but she doesn't even realize it until Raspberry Tart is like, "What exactly are you doing in my living quarters?" And Pip's like, "Uh-oh." Just out for a stroll.
Me!
Yeah.
I thought you meant the pot of flowers.
And then Raspberry Tart basically says to her goon, "Kill her."
Kill her off with a gizmo.
Yeah, Gizmo, yeah. And then, what was the stable that Red Eyes was from?
101.
Stable 101.
Yeah.
So a cyborg, a Pegasus cyborg, he has robotic wings, but he didn't originally have wings.
No, because because 101 was a Earth pony.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting how that would have worked.
Anyways, the wings don't really help him fly, but they do give him some lift off the ground, and they are razor sharp. So he's trying to kill Pip, anyways, and he gets Pip pinned, and Pip realizes, like, I don't have any weapons, but what do I have? Oh, yes, and then she picks up, with her mind, her screwdriver, and embeds it through his ear and into his brain.
Cool. But it works.
Yeah. Well, and then there's a note that says it took a full minute for him to finally die. Can you imagine just standing there watching a creature like flinching from a screwdriver in their head?
Taking a head off a chicken.
Anyways, then Raspberry Tart, is trying to make some more threats, and Pip literally picks up the guy's wing and starts moving it towards her throat.
It's like, maybe you want to talk to me now.
She's like, you may be more useful than I realized.
And so they get back, and there's this whole thing like, well, we found out, we admit it. You heard in the audio. Yeah, and she also told us that you tried to contract to have me killed. And she's like, but no. And they're like,
yeah, you'd be the dumbest assassin in the world having planted a microphone and then trying to barter for that person's life.
Yes, that doesn't
make
any
we
sense.
know you're not doing that, but
However, it makes it to where she sounds like she was just playing the part.
Right, trying to suss out another
However,
assassin.
Afterwards, Raspberry Tart didn't know that there was a device planted. So afterwards, she gets a call from the Enclave.
Yeah. Which
is an interesting dialogue because you don't know who she's talking to until they say, our raptors are 80 minutes out. And
yeah,
you're like,
I just remember the line, quit saying those bad words. You know how I feel when you use bad words or words I don't like or something.
Oh, yeah.
Words I don't like.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Oh, and they also get another breakthrough from DJ Pony where she says she actually breaks the Enclave broadcast for a few moments.
And says, I'm going to give you some real information.
Yep, that our Wasteland hero, our Wasteland savior, is the one who planted the bomb, not the Enclave. The Enclave had been spoon-feeding this idea that Red Eyes and the goddess were working together to kind of alicornify the entire wasteland, which is somewhat technically not true, but true. They were working together, but obviously not to that end. And Red Eye was working only with the goddess to usurp. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was hoping you would like the notes. Yeah. Working together to really his own ends, but moving forward.
So yeah, the Enclave. Well, they do broadcast ahead, so they talk directly to the Enclave using Raspberry Tarts.
Well, they try to, but they can't get any transmission through because the Enclave broadcasts first and says we are looking for someone. Give them up immediately.
And Pip and Calamity both are like, well, if it's us, we'll hand ourselves over. And they're like, well, why do you assume it's you?
Yeah, and it's like
maybe,
we're not going to.
Maybe it's the doctor.
Yeah,
but
they thought it was maybe the doctor.
Turns out it's not.
It's actually Radar.
Because he was the
one who broke into the Ministry of Awesome, and that's what they were doing. Kkat. This is where Kkat explains in this sequence that the Enclave is attempting to cover their tracks to try to cover up any information that could be released.
Loose ends.
But they start butchering the populace, where what comes in first are the local flyers, pretty much the heavy guard. And they start
magical energy weapons.
And the first target was where they said, "Give us the pony request. Give us radar." And the first response from the crowd's, "Fuck you!"
And
they zap him.
I just love that that's their mentality. It's like, here are these flying guys. What a resilient spirit.
A mare that eloquent must be
you
saved.
You big ugly flying mook. Fuck yous.
Forget about it.
But anyways, we should also say that the children of Arbu wound up in Friendship City.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at Pip as if she is the devil.
Yeah.
They don't want to have anything to do with her. And so the Enclave basically say, don't move or we'll shoot. And this poor filly is afraid of Pip. Pip's like, no, stop, stay. You have to stay. And she's like, what does she call her? Hell Lady or Hellmare. That's a Hellmare. And she runs away, and the Enclave
zap Asher. And so Pip is like absolutely fucking distraught, like horrified because just the reaction that she gets from this child causes the child to die. So she sees the ash spread over the walk.
And so she's trying to collect the ashes mentally. She's
Mentally.
trying to pile them up
And
together.
in the notes, I put a picture of Fluttershy holding Philomena's ashes and like doing that really hardcore sob session because that was my first thought. That from the show, by the way, is the ashes belong to a phoenix, so the phoenix was just fucking with Fluttershy.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No.
I was gonna say, I was like, that's pretty heavy-handed for My Little Pony.
Yeah, no, it was just a dickish move.
But anyways, Calamity shows up and he sees what she's doing, and so he hands her a what do you call it? The cola, the sparkle cola, a sparkle cola bottle, and Pip puts the ashes in the bottle, and they put a cap on it, and she's like, "There, now you've put her to rest."
Yeah.
And literally has to like slap her out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is
he's like, "Pip, I need you here right now."
He actually does slap her, but I realized he's got hooves. That has to fucking hurt.
Do they have shoes?
Probably.
Do ponies wear horseshoes?
Probably. I feel like it would probably.
Have you ever seen a picture of their hoof?
Well, I mean,
I don't know if you're into feet.
There's the hoofs right on there, so they don't show them in the show. They'd show horseshoes, obviously, but I don't think that part of the character design ever has them overtly on there at any time. So it may just be a fashion accessory.
Yeah.
I don't know, but moving then, still that would fucking hurt. But he does slap her out of it, and they start trying to drum up an offensive against the incoming enclave.
Friendship City is fighting. They've decided to fight, and they will defend Radar. And they have harbor guns. That's what they refer to them as.
Yep,
right?
they are harbor guns. They had 3 raptors try to take the city.
We should also say that Raspberry Tart, on her way out, tried to sabotage the harbor guns, but it was done in such a poor way. Calamity was able to restore half of them.
Yeah,
quickly,
very quickly, and they also took one of the boats. God damn, what a not even that much character development. I still hate her. What the hell?
So there's 3 raptors that are sent. Dispatched.
One is destroyed almost immediately by the harbor guns, but while firing on one, the harbor guns, before they had time to lock on the others, were destroyed. And so now there's a situation where one of the raptors is not firing at all, but the other one is still bombarding the city. So they decide to have a plan. They decide to hatch a plan where they make a few homemade bombs from the rounds left over from the harbor guns. And go to the one raptor that is firing on the populace, not the one that isn't, but the one that's firing on the populace, to stop it. And on the way there, Pip gets a radio broadcast that the Pip Buck had picked up and automatically deciphered, which is of the Enclave
broadcast
arguing with each other about what they're doing. And the one that is not firing on the crowd below is saying, "Look, they're innocent. They didn't do anything.
Done.
We don't have to fight. We have the upper hand. We have smashed whatever defenses they have. They can't stop us. We can just go in and take who we need. We don't have to keep killing innocent people to prove a point." And Enclave High Command is like, "No, you do. You have to kill everyone. That's what the operation is. The operation is get Radar and kill him, and kill everyone else. Kill the whole thing. Operation Cauterize. Close the wound with fire." So, they sneak onto the raptor, start planting these explosives all over the place. Little Bit does
well, they even knowingly get themselves caught.
Later.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm saying, so Calamity and Ditzy they're dressed as Enclave officers. And so they're communicating with them. But essentially it goes sour. He keeps trying to convince them that, no, we're normal. Oh, we were on the other ship. Those deserters, that's why we're over here. We're loyal.
Oh, yeah, those guys are just asses.
And as normally goes in these stories, he's like, I don't, like the Germans from Indiana Jones, I do not recognize your accent.
That was...
Well, also Inglourious Bastards.
Yes. And my first thought was Star Wars, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a weapons malfunction. Everything's fine here. We're all fine here. How are you?
He's so damn smooth.
Except it just doesn't work. Boring conversation anyway. Pip, blow the ship, and so she blows the ship.
Yeah.
And they hightail it out of there with Enclave following in pursuit immediately.
But basically, they leave the city in ruins.
Yeah.
And Radar and the mayor are dead. Not the mayor. Not the mayor. The sheriff. Not the sheriff, but whatever the head police security officer was.
Yeah.
They died defending the city.
The poor synth. Because you remember in Rivet City he was the synth?
Yes.
Yeah. See? I can do things.
Go figure.
Yeah. So, on their way out from Manhattan, they get to the edge before having to stop because it was Ditzy. Ditzy was gravely injured.
So here's an image, and we skipped over a flashback that Pip had in the bunker with Ambrosia, where Ambrosia is like begging to be killed.
Yeah.
And Pip has that moment where she recognizes the blood. And it's because she has no other weapons. She has no other strength. And she imagines forming a blade with the blood again, and then blacks out.
Yeah.
We have no more memory there. So what happened with the Black Book?
Yeah. No idea.
Yeah, but anyways, so then we're talking about... I've noticed a similarity here in the story. The Black Book, in many ways, is like the One Ring from The Lord of the Rings. It speaks to the one who carries it. It tempts them with dark powers. And the scene with Ditzy is like Gollum in the Forbidden Pool in Gondor.
Yeah.
You know, splashing around, having a good time, fun. Here's the Rangers.
Yeah. Just appear.
It's a death sentence to be where you are.
Yeah.
I just noticed a couple of those elements from Lord of the Rings.
That's not something I recognize, but I'm not.
Ditzy is basically splashing around in radiation to heal.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, this feels great." She's all energized,
and then all the Enclave pop up, and they're like, "Okay,
come with us.
You're coming with us." Now, thankfully, these were not the same Enclave who were stationed to destroy Friendship City, or else this conversation would be a lot worse. But Calamity was off in another building looking for supplies, so they didn't notice him. And he has to sneak back up and try to break them back out of the little mobile prison that they're keeping Pip and Ditzy in, which has a funny thing of Ditzy continuously zapping her huffing, going, "Ow, ow, ow, wow," which just like completely pisses off the Enclave like prison guard. He's like, "Stop it! Just fucking stop it!" Zap! Ow! Can't you stop her? No. Can't.
No.
It's impossible.
Yeah. She's a 200-year-old ghoul. You get what you see.
So
Calamity's like sneaking up on the ridge, and they're like, "Oh boy, he's gonna murder them all."
And then Calamity's like, "Nope,"
sets his gun down,
and goes away. And they're like, "What? Calamity? What? Come back!"
He basically turns himself in.
He does turn himself in. Not basically, he does. And we come to find out that the local commander of this particular outpost is none other than his brother.
Pride?
Pride,
yeah.
Also, his Brony.
His Brony. Good to see you, my little Brony.
Interesting verbiage there. I guess not incorrect for what... This existed before the episode with the Crystal Empire, so obviously they would not have used that. In the Crystal Empire, they came up with a different terminology for brother. It was exclusive to just Twilight talking about her brother. She calls him her BBBFF. Big brother, best friend forever.
Oh, whatever.
You know, it's kind of...
Brony's way better.
It's the show, not the Bronies.
Yeah.
And that was their doing. But I don't know if she would have used that terminology, given if that had been available at the time. Couldn't say. He might have used it ironically, because Pride just what is the terminology for tearing somebody down like that? Like when you take somebody's medals and you just tear them off their uniform.
Dishonor?
Just not disrobing, but there's a term for that.
I don't know what you're looking for.
But he just keeps like just chipping away,
verbally abusing.
Yeah, the hell out of Calamity. Even the You know why they call him Calamity, don't you? Well, see, my father was a bit of a drinker.
No. Well, his father was a hard ass.
Yeah. But apparently his mother died in childbirth, giving birth to him. So they all say that...
Calamity has, what, 4 other brothers?
3, I think.
3, okay.
3.
Yeah.
I think he's the 4th brother.
Yeah.
There may be 4 other brothers. I can't remember. But she put in, I mean, as far as broodmares go, that's not too bad.
Jeez. But yeah, we find out that... Actually, we skipped over a section, or maybe it comes up later, where they talk about how they got their cutie marks.
That's actually after this, because what happens is after the dishonorable just tearing down, Pride shoves Calamity in with the others, and that's when they have their conversation about their cutie marks.
Their cutie marks.
Yeah. Cashiering. Okay.
Interesting.
Not what the term I was looking
not
for,
the
but
word you were looking for.
I have cashiered many times in my life, and I can guarantee you it's just as bad. So.
But they talk about the origins of their cutie mark, and Calamity speaks about how cruel his father was. His father was a drill sergeant that trained Enclave members.
In Navarro.
Yeah. And just a total hard ass.
Yeah.
And constantly picking on him. And Calamity finally wants his dad's approval, so he becomes a sharpshooter and comes in 3rd place in a competition, and his dad's like, yeah, but that's not 1st place.
Yeah.
And so he's greatly disappointed.
And so he says, well, the gun's shit. And so his dad's like, well, then fix it. So he fixes it and comes in 1st. And he gets a cutie mark for fixing it. And his dad's like, well, that's a disappointment.
Because of his cutie mark.
Yeah.
His cutie mark is a hammer.
It's like, wow,
And then when you think about it, Calamity has been fixing things all along.
Yeah.
They even mention it, how surprised they are he is at making clothing.
Yeah, sewing.
Sewing, yeah.
Yeah.
He's good with his hooves.
What a fuck ass that.
Yeah. His dad's not a great guy. But then Pip also remembers the story Calamity told about eating meat and how his brothers used to force him to eat hot dogs.
They have hot dogs. So, question. How do they have hot dogs? Where would you find hot dogs?
Flying pigs. Why not?
Equestria burns when pigs fly. Okay.
But anyways, Pride actually lets Calamity and them go.
Yeah, he's like, look, I can't do this. I can't, for everything else that I've done. Especially because Pride is the one who actually branded him.
His brother. Yeah. It's interesting that it finally humanizes him.
Yeah, he's like
he's an evil ass, but something's eating at him.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to see the bad of the Enclave, too. He's starting to see it firsthand. Yeah,
because he's seeing the disorganization, because he's understanding that this whole thing is not working out the way that it should.
Yeah. And then we find out that the Enclave are attacking New Appaloosa.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody, well, specifically Ditzy, she just takes off and immediately starts flying from Appaloosa, because that's where her daughter is.
Yeah. That's where Silverbell is, and that's where her family is. That's where her shop is, where she has literally everything.
That's where Zenith is. It's where she calls home. And instead of trying to come up with a tactical plan,
she immediately engages the Enclave.
Yeah. And when they try and attack her, she uses... So we skipped over... Ditzy Do, the way that she is able to expel the radiation from her body is she builds...
burst.
Yeah, she builds up a charge and then releases it in a push of energy.
Similar to how the glowing ones work in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 in New Vegas. I don't remember if in Fallout 1 or 2 the glowing ones had an energy blast. I don't remember. But
she begins to whiz around, like literally using the burst of energy to like speed around, and the Enclave are chasing her, trying to wrangle her and bring her in.
Yep.
And essentially,
she gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter.
And they fire homing missiles on her.
Yes, and then...
Yeah, she flies directly into the Raptors with the missiles following her closely, and big boom.
Omae wa moshinderu.
Nani?
Which is what I had in there for her. But you're already dead. So yeah, that was the chapter 39. I hope you all enjoyed. We've been going for an hour so far.
Rip in pieces, man.
Yes.
Rip in pieces.
Rest in pony.
Steel
hooves.
Steel hooves and Ditsy do. Interesting, both the ghouls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, well, I didn't say she died. She just said she exploded in a ball of light.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah. She's actually going to come back as a
pink fog, a green fog.
No, it's going to be glowing one Jesus.
Great. 3 days later,
she's gonna be like partially necrotic, rotted corpse with a solid white robe.
Did he do the green?
Oh. Did she do the white?
A mad white wizard runs this for us.
So you want to do this?
What is this? What do we get to do? Is it that time again? Is it that time of the show?
I don't know. Is it the time everybody?
Funny fun of the week!
I was gonna do the thing where it's like, where I was like, come on, kids, if you believe in the pony pun of the week, come on, clap your hands, because we have a live audience, a live studio audience.
I don't know how alive they are. I mean, they could be ghouls. All we know.
That's ist of some kind. No idea.
The
living ist.
The
dead ist.
Existentialist. No. The pony pun of the week is 4 left hooves.
4 left hooves.
So is that somebody who's very clumsy or somebody who can't dance?
Why not both?
Yeah, porque no los dos.
Being they don't have thumbs.
I would join you on the floor, Rarity, but I have 4 left hooves.
Mm-hmm.
How about some listener questions?
Yes. So, we have 2. One was actually not for us, but was for everyone else. However, it's a question, and you don't get to decide how this works. Spliff says grapes, question mark. We answered that too. Agent MLP 412 says, anyone else here dislike Velvet Remedy? Just asking, no hate. Okay,
your name here. Your name here.
Schmucks. You remember, oh gosh, what's his name? The stand-up comedian who played in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, Dylan Moran.
Dylan Moran. I hated, like, this was the first time I'd ever seen Dylan Moran. I think it's probably the first time we saw him.
I'd seen him in Notting Hill.
Okay. Yeah. I saw him the first time, and I absolutely hated him.
He plays a douchebag.
He plays, like, the worst possible human being. And so when I saw him in other things, I was like, oh, wait, he's not actually like that at all. He's just really good at playing that. Yeah. And the thing is, ktat's really good. I don't hate Velvet because she's a poorly written character. I hate her because she's a very well-written character that is awful.
Yeah.
God damn it.
When they do, I can feel it in the book. ktat keeps trying to do things to make Velvet redeemable.
Yeah, I mean, there's more. There's a lot to her character, but the thing is that her character is entirely believable. She is someone who you could actually know and get very frustrated at. So it's not an issue, again, of her being poorly written. It's an issue of that character being what that character is.
We also forgot to mention, I mentioned how ktat's, as the story progresses, she's trying to make Velvet more likable. Mm-hmm. Velvet actually apologizes to Pip about the teasing that she used to do.
Yep.
And Pip's like, okay, well, that's validation. But yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. But, I've done shitty things too.
Yeah, she shot up an entire town.
I murdered an entire town. And some of their children.
See, look, I murdered some children and an entire town.
You made me feel weird about...
You made me feel weird about myself and tried to manipulate me sexually. What? It's the same, really. I mean, it's just functionally the same.
All right.
So, oh my god, I was thinking of nice guys, except Little Pip's the nice horse.
Oh, no.
Why does she always go after that Butch Calamity type? Why can't she go after me? I'm a nice horse. Why wasn't that the pony pun of the week?
Low T soy pony. Soy cold.
I'm really going to stop this here because if we keep going, it's either going to turn into this YouTube video actually having to get taken down, or something else. Okay, so there is a second question. Omega asks, how do you think the story in Fall Equestria would change if it started after season 6 or 7? Discord, Alicorn Twilight, Starlight Glimmer, the allegiance with the Yak-Yakistan. Yes, there's a place called Yak-Yakistan.
Don't talk back.
alliance with the dragons, alliance with the changelings, etc. Well, tell them.
Hell if I know.
Okay, so let me break this down. Discord. That's a wild card because he's a wild card. There's no telling what he could have or would have done or couldn't have done. There's no telling. He could have been assassinated. They recently kind of nerfed his, not recently, but they did nerf his abilities after the fact by making his magic not work on changelings. But I don't think they ever gave an explanation. Alicorn Twilight, already explained. She could still be an Alicorn and still get caught up in the same mess because her bunker was underground, and wings don't help you when you're underground. Starlight Glimmer, again, no telling. She could have just acted as an aide for Twilight Sparkle in the Ministry of Arcane Science. She probably, I mean, if this had existed then, kkat probably would have used her as a fill-in for the twins. Probably. Alliance with Equestria. Yeah, they're not a superpower of any kind. That's like saying that if we went to war with Russia, that we'd have to wonder what would happen if we were allied with the Grand Cayman. It's not I mean, they have no military power.
Thomas Young says, "Holy shit! What about the EG universe?
Equestria Girls universe. That's connected by a solitary mirror that who knows what could have happened. I mean, chances are they probably would have destroyed it very quickly or at least find some way to hide it.
By the way, why was that a thing?
Toys.
I guess, yeah.
Toys.
Is it a TV show too?
It was kind of a made-for-TV movie that had a limited theatrical release. The first one. What it came down to was the fact that Mattel had Monster Girl High, and Hasbro wanted some of that sweet dough, so they decided to take their My Little Pony thing and switch it over to high school. Yeah, I didn't like it. Though I'm sure that comes as a surprise to absolutely fucking no one. I mean...
Look at Chris, the Brony who dislikes most things of the original My Little Pony.
No, the original I do love. It's everything that came after Lauren Faust left.
So you are a Brony hipster is what you are.
Yes,
You liked it before it got popular?
That'd be hard. Recently with their miniseries. Yeah, I mean, it's popular, sure, but just because something's popular doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah, I mean, kids are eating Tide Pods. That's technically popular.
I mean, Forgotten Friendship is awesome. I mean, I may watch it eventually. I mean, look, cocaine's pretty popular. I'm not going to start taking it. Alliance with the Dragons. That would be interesting, but I'd actually want to see exactly how that would work. There's no telling how the dragons would react to that. The dragons seem to be a very stoic society, aside because their dominance hierarchy kind of shows on stoicism. Right. And because of their longevity, they might see this as something that isn't really that important to them and just back out. The Changeling Alliance is actually the reformed changelings, which aren't the soul-sucking, love-eating succubi of the universe. They are now the happy, go-friendly, flower-loving, tree-humping, dirt-fucking, colorful-friendly ones.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is the fact they're pacifists. The hell are you going to rely on pacifists in war? Hey, Tibet, you got my back? Yeah, sure, go out there, man, you got it. You'll be fine. It might change things, but really the story could still work exactly, and everything could work out exactly as it began. Twilight becoming an Alicorn may be seen as a time divergence.
We've mentioned before, by Twilight becoming an Alicorn just gives her more motivation
to follow through that exact story, because she's like, wait, I know what the power is. Now I know that, and I know it can be done. So let's see if we can make a force out of it. Let's see if we can actually weaponize this power. If you think about it, her Ministry of Arcane Science is the one that came up with the magical energy weapons.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's all about some weaponization.
In a big way.
And this is still before Pinkie Pie used her as a personal minigun in that. I'm actually going to show him the not the Crystal Empire, but the Changeling Invasion, the original.
Huh. Okay.
The Canterlot Royal Wedding, which somehow tied together with the Royal Wedding that happened in Britain. But I'm going to be honest, the Canterlot Royal Wedding was much better. Much better musical number, I'm going to tell you that much.
Less inbreeding.
Royal family's only good for two things, having slack jaws and screwing in light bulbs.
So, remember, you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/CriscoBrainBiscuits. Obviously, those of you watching right now know where to find us there. But you can also find the podcast on thefoalyofman.libsyn.com, which can be found in iTunes or the Google Play podcast stores, respectively. Please, if you'd like to, email us at cbpbch@gmail.com. Again, that is cbpbch@gmail.com. And you can also send us tweets at CriscoCast. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I have forgotten.
I want to make sure to go through the comments one last time and make sure that I got everything. Okay.
I would like to give special thanks to Adraxis again. And let's see here. You're making sure we're not missing any questions there?
Yes. You can really grasp what to do before its funeral. Interesting theory. Dissonant Applejack. Maybe other than that. Serious single ministry who did nothing wrong. Seems to be, yeah. Wason said, Wasson. I can't remember. I can't. I think it's Wason. Said, as much as I admit Somber's writing is detailed, there's some stuff that villainized the ministries a bit too much that I didn't like. Well, yeah.
That was from Project Horizons?
Yeah. He tries to build onto the universe, but he does so in a very directed fashion, let's say, that kind of diverts from kkat's style and focus, where kkat was more... kkat's focus is very heavily on... everyone was just trying to do the best they could. But these are what can happen under best intentions. Even the story starts, the portal to hell is open with the incantation of good intentions.
Yeah.
The ponyized version of the classic saying, but it shows that all the ministry mayors were trying to do was just trying to end the war. They just wanted to end the war because part of them wanted to get back and be friends again. They just wanted it to stop.
Everything to be the way it was before.
So they all tried to find a way to make it stop. They didn't try to find a way to intelligently do that, and they didn't
because they did it, that's the problem. They did it separately, not together.
Mm-hmm.
The minute the ministries were created, that was what spelled their doom, their demise.
So Luna did destroy the world.
Bum, bum, bum. Nightmare Moon.
Yep.
So I do want to take a moment to have special thanks for those of you who watched today, those of you who watched in the past. The best way to support the show is tell your friends, tell your family. Have a conversation with your parents about our show.
If you don't talk to your kids about Foally Equestria, who will?
So thank you very much for being involved. We've got more fun stuff coming to the channel. So for Chris, I'm Robert, and we will see you all next week. Bye-bye.